God being here. This is where we dig down in the scripture, dig down in the history. This is where we talk about things we normally don't talk about anywhere else because people don't want to talk about these kind of things on Sunday morning in church. So I talk about it in Master Key class. So thank you for being with us. Master Key is the key that opens up everything. You want to be able to not just have a key for joy, a key for happiness, a key for laughability, a key for good finance, or a key for entrepreneur. You want a key because you'll have a ring of keys. You want one key that can open up all of those things. And that's what I believe spirituality is. It is a key that can open up all of these things. Listen, I've been doing this for over 45 years. Yes, 45 years. Got a gray hair to prove it. But one of the things that I have loved about doing this is I love to see people when they are enlightened. There are three things that I talk about, and it's called, I think, the mission of what we do. And that mission, of course, is to educate. It is to enlighten, and it is to energize, because we draw energy from our enlightenment and enlightenment from our education. So this is what I want to do. And one of the reasons I do the Master Key class is because when I was growing up, they took me, it was during the Civil Rights Movement. Yes, I was there during that, around that time. I was a young boy, 7, 8 years old, I can't remember, but I went to something when we didn't go to school or something for a few days because they were boycotting some things. And so even the kids were involved in that. And so we thought we were going to have a free day at home and to play. But no, we had to go to something called Freedom School, where they taught us Black history. That's right. And I had never heard Black history because I was in an integrated school, in my early education. But they didn't teach Black history. We didn't know anything about Black people in history. Black people were supposed to be just like everybody else. We heard about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. That's who we heard about. But we didn't know about what Black people were doing and how that enslaved people and things like that. So we didn't know about those kind of things until I got to Freedom School. And when I learned it, my jaw was dropped, my eyes were open, even as a 7 or 8 year old kid. And it looks like we may have to wind up going back to the same thing. Now, let me bring something up. And this is going to have to do with our spiritual education. Spiritual education. That sounds like a boring term. I don't think I want to put that on my description because that's, it sounds boring. But I think one of the most important things we have to be able to do, and that is to teach people not just American history, not just the history of enslaved people, but also teach spiritual history and how spiritual history connects to both of these things, American history and the history of enslaved people, how that spiritual history is interwoven through it all. Because let me tell you something, you are not going to believe how connected spiritual history is to everything that's going on out here. Look, I think right now here in Texas, one of the things the governor, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's passed or not, but one thing the governor wants to sign, and some of you will know it, is about understanding Texas history, the history of 1836, I believe, the 1836 project. And all of this is to start muddling up the waters of that 1619 project, which talks about how slaves were brought over in 1619 and the history of enslaved people. And you're hearing about these kind of projects, and they're also want to make sure that African American history or the history of enslaved people are not taught in your elementary schools and junior highs, because they don't want other people or other children of other races to feel bad or be spoken of as an oppressor. And so therefore whitewash the history, just whitewash the history of enslaved people. And I didn't know just how whitewashed the history of enslaved people was within our educational institutions in the first place. Now, you're going to be hearing one of these phrases, and this phrase is called critical race theory. I'm sure you've been hearing it all over the place. It's on the internet, on your cell phones. And they're, within many communities, they're afraid that this critical race theory that they call it is going to be taught in elementary schools, junior high schools, and high schools. In other words, the critical race theory is that white people enslaved black people, and so therefore the white people are the oppressors, and therefore the children and are going to be seen that way, and it's going to make the children feel bad, and all of this. Listen, all this is a bunch of cocky Purdue story. No, it ain't got. There's nothing. There's nothing to that at all. As a matter of fact, critical race theory, and here, let me tell you what it is. Critical race theory is basically a legal term. It is something that is taught in colleges, and it's taught to law students to understand how race has wormed its way into our system, which brings about systemic racism. And how it's systematically in the law system, how it's systematically in the police departments, how it's in the system of education, the system of corporate America, and to understand where it is, how to look at it, how to spot it, the effects it's having not only on black people, but on white people, everybody, Native American, everybody. And how it's also having an effect on our financial communities. So this is something that's basically taught in college. It's not taught in elementary. Nobody is teaching critical race theory in school. Elementary, junior high, middle school, high school. They're having a fit over it in the Southern Baptist Convention, in your white evangelical convention. They're having a fit about that critical race theory. But that's not what it is. But it is about something that's happening in college. And so the goal is to stop teaching African American history, or understanding that not just African American history, but how everything is intertwined. To make it seem as if the war between the North and the South, the Civil War, was fought just for states' rights. It was fought to preserve slavery. Well, at least that's what the Union soldiers understood. That's what the North understood. South is, we want to preserve our way of life. And it was fought for that particular reason. And so the history of that needs to be told from all sides. And at the same time, slavery had intersected into the Native American community. You've been hearing about what happened in Tulsa, about Greenwood, and how it was bombed, and people were killed because of what they call Black Wall Street. If you haven't heard about this, look it up on YouTube, and they'll show you all the documentaries that have been out about this. That even some tribes of Native Americans owned slaves because they emulated the slavery that was taking place in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana. They were watching it. And so some Native American tribes inherited slaves, and they kept slaves. But then when they moved the Native Americans off of their land out of Oklahoma, sending them west along what was called the Trail of Tears, the slaves went with them. Ultimately, when they set the slaves free, they made even the Native Americans let the slaves go. But many of those slaves had intermarried and grew up, had children in many of those Native American communities. And so that's why you have so many, black folk talking about, well, what, the reason I got this put good, this hair, they call it good hair. It's not good or bad hair. They call it this hair I got is because I got some Indian in me. So they be finding out folk don't have that much Native American in them that they think they got in them. But anyway, that's what happened. That's part of history. This is not just black history or white history or Native American history. We don't understand that during the time when the railroads were trying to be able to give transportation between the east and the west part of the United States. They began the projects coming from California, going east and leaving the east, going west so that they would meet each other. And it was the Chinese community that was mostly responsible for blowing up these mountains where you see these overpasses and these highways going through the mountains and these tunnels. And they lost their lives trying to make sure that this railroad was going to go through to reach and connect with each other. That would be transportation, and that would be an economic boom for this brand new country that they were building. So your Chinese community, Native American, you're black, and you're white, everybody was involved in building America. You just can't say one race built America. And then when you get the Declaration of Independence, when you get the understanding and you get that phrase also, your Bill of Rights, your Constitution, when you get the phrase, all men are created equal, we understand that at that particular time, they didn't consider all men, including black men, including black women, including white women, including white men who were not landowners, or white immigrants that came from Ireland or Slavic countries. They didn't mean that they were all equal. Not at that particular time. But as time went on, we took those words and we made them our own. All of our communities, we made them our own. That all men are created equal. So we really took that document of the United States of America, and regardless of what anybody thinks, it means exactly what we all say, that all men, regardless of race, background, color, are created equal. Especially in the sight of God. Whether you think it humanly or not, in the sight of God, we're created equal. This is one of the things that took place spiritually. On one road, we understand what the Constitution says. But on another track, the spiritual track, the religion track, the biblical track, there were some people in the church, not black people in the church, but some people in the church who were teaching that we're not equal. Not even in the eyesight of God. That black people were cursed. And if ever you hear me talk about that, that's the biggest darn lie in the world. Look, I'll be right back. Don't go away, okay? All right. Hello, this is Ed Montgomery. There's an ancient text that says, count it all joy, or consider it joy when you deal with different or various trials. For the trying of your faith works or creates endurance. And I think we all have to say we've had to endure a lot in these last 14 months. Getting through COVID, transitions, jobs, finance, health. Oh, it's just been so much. But I want you to know that we can't stop here. There's another space. There's another place. There is another horizon. ALC is about to move into its next phase of ministry. And I want this phase to be the best. And I've prayed and I've asked God, just give me whatever it is you're going to give me, because I want to help people move to that next place in their life. And there were three things that I heard deep in my spirit. And those three things are this: pursue purpose, grow faith, and enjoy your journey. Help people pursue their purpose, grow their faith, and enjoy their journey. Purpose is something that we need in order to move forward. Faith is what keeps us going on. But none of it is worth anything if you can't enjoy the journey. So I want you to take a moment. Help me get this vision off the ground as we move into a new facility, a new vision, a new space. And do what you can to keep us going forward. This is our 40th year. Yes, 40 years of ministry. And I want to make this our best years. So I want you to take a moment, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. And hit that donate button. Mash it, crash it, smash it. And the screen will pop up and it'll tell you how to give. You can decide how you want to give, whether it's your tithe, an offering, whatever you're going to give. Put the number 40 in it. It'll make a huge difference. Just put that number 40 somewhere in whatever you're going to give. Or of course, you can use your app. Your app is special. We're working on the app every single week, and we're going to continue to work on it because we want that to be a place where you can go and listen to us on the radio. You can watch this broadcast, all those things, because it'll be right there on your phone. And you can also do what is so popular, giving through text. And all you got to do is just take your phone, and all you got to do is type in that phone number, 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And send whatever message or amount you want to give, whether it's $10, $15, $20. Just type the number 20 or 50 or whatever number you want to give in that text message box. And then click the send arrow button or whatever, and it'll go right to us. If it's your first time, it's going to open an account for you, but it only takes seconds in order to establish it. Or of course, you can give through the post office box. That's something that there's some of us that said, I just want to do this by check. And that's what you can do. You can send it, mail it to Abundant Life Center or Abundant Life Cathedral, same place. P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. Look, I'm at a place right now where normally a lot of these ideas and things that we're about to do and buildings we're about to go in and that are being developed even right now. Normally I'd have Sandra to be able to bounce all of these ideas off, and now she's transitioned. She is in the arms of the ancestors and sitting at the table of the elders. But at the same time, I have you. And I have you praying for me, lifting me. Some of you I bounce ideas off of. But more than anything, I need you to help me. Help me with your prayers, and also help us with your support. Hit that donate button. Make that contribution. Do it now. Do it today. Because I believe in the next years, doesn't matter what your age is, we're going to help you do those three things. Pursue your purpose, grow your faith, and enjoy your journey. Looking forward to seeing your name. Thank you in advance. Prayers are always with you. Make sure if you are watching this from another city other than Houston, Texas, type in your city in the comments. Houston, not Houston, wherever your city is. If you're in a state other than Texas, type in your state. If you're in a country other than the United States of America, type in the name of the country that you're watching this from, because this makes a huge deal. The algorithms are just so powerful. We're even growing our global church that people are being a part of us. We may not be your first church, but we can be your second church. Or we might be the first and you might have a second when you attend, but this is home. I want to create this new concept of home. So make sure you do that. Look, I want to close this out what I was talking about just before we left. It is so important that we educate, not just in American history, but the history of African American people as well as spiritual history, to know how the church was wove, and belief and faith is all through there. To pull out those things where people tried to give false religion to keep enslaved people down, but at the same time do those things that make us rise up, and the faith and the words that keep us risen and keep us lifted. That is so important. So that's what we want to leave you with, and I'll pick up with this next week, and we'll talk about this a little bit more next time. So make sure you like this. Share this with somebody. Did you like it? Did you like what? Did hit the like button. Don't leave me without some likes. Hit the like button. Share this with some of your friends, and make sure you let me know if you got a kick out of it. Comment. You can type something in there. Let me know that you're praying for me or whatever. Just let me know where you are. All those things. Look, I'm praying for you, and I'm thanking God every day for your life. Keep being strong. Keep doing that. And don't forget, pursue your purpose, grow your faith, and enjoy the journey. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.